Hello everyone, my name is Lance90 and welcome to Let's Play Pillars of Eternity. This is a new RPG that just came out. It was funded on Kickstarter. It's made in the style of the Infinity Engine games, which is games like Baldur's Gate and Icewind Dale, things like that, which were very good games at the time. This one isn't set in the D&D universe like those games are, because, you know, it's like copyrighted and stuff, and I guess they didn't want to go through that. So it has its own game system and stuff. I think it's based on like 1d100 instead of d20, but I'm not completely sure on that. I've already started like my own single player game, and I've watched some Let's Plays for a little bit into the game, so I kind of know what to expect. So let's get into it. Put it on normal mode. There's all sorts of different settings you can do. This one's the insane level difficulty, and then this one makes it so you only have one save file, kind of makes it into a roguelike, and this one just gets rid of all the help in the game. And I'm not quite hardcore enough for those settings. Should mention I'm not going to read everything because there's a lot of text on the game.
5 wagons grope blindly for the path on a starless night, their master glancing ever upward to the skies for assurance that he is on the right course. A dim lantern his only protection against the encroaching darkness. But the skies bring no comfort, shining no light, betraying no hint of what they know. The caravan carries travelers bound for the frontier hamlet of Gilded Vale, you among them, where a local lord has offered land and wealth to settlers from abroad looking for a fresh start. You have taken suddenly ill, sweating and shivering, and one of the other travelers signals for the caravan master to stop on your behalf. He pulls up just in time to avoid plowing into the trunk of a fallen tree that bars the way ahead. You will go no further tonight.
There's also lots of narration in the game, so that's another reason why I'm not going to read everything. But there's a lot of stuff that isn't narrated, and I can't read all of it. It's just too much. I'm reading it myself on my single player mode, but... Alright, so we can choose our gender. It doesn't do any in-game effect, it's just aesthetic, I suppose. There's probably like some dialogue options that change, but nothing, no game mechanics. Our race, I'm not exactly sure which one I'm gonna pick yet. I just kind of wanna pick my class before I pick my race and other stuff, because that kind of determines what stats we're gonna want. Stats in this game are different than normal. I'll probably just go over them once we get to the attributes screen. Or maybe I guess I'll go over them now. There's might, which is a little bit like strength, but in this game, instead of it only being for melee attacks like it would be in D&D, it also affects range damage and healing from spells and damage from spells, I think. So it helps all damage output, basically. It also contributes to how much you heal and your fortitude bonus. The fortitude bonus is kind of similar to D&D. Resolve is a little bit more like charisma in D&D. It helps you maintain concentrations with your spells. That's kind of more of an intellect thing in D&D, but a lot of the in-game text, like when you're chatting with people, will be based on resolve. That's why I think it's more like charisma than anything else. And it helps with will and deflection, which is your chance to for attacks to just miss you. See if the other stats are listed. Got dexterity. You're pretty familiar with this one. Overall, it's pretty similar to D&D's dexterity, except in this one, since it's based on like real-time combat instead of being like turns that are timed out. It's just like number of seconds that go by. So in this one, it increases your action speed instead of other stuff that D&D might do. And it counts for everything, including attacks and spells and abilities, and also contributes to your reflex save. Constitution, similar to D&D. It increases your maximum health and endurance, contributes to fortitude defense. So in this game, you have a overall health, and you also have an endurance score. And endurance is like your fight-to-fight health. It gets reset every fight. And it's a lot lower than your maximum health. But if it goes to 0, you get knocked out. And your health is your overall health, and if that goes to 0, you die. That'll take multiple fights, or if the party gets wiped. We talked about the other ones. Perception. And infects deflection defenses, and also gives a bonus to interrupts. So interrupts is like every attack and spell and everything in this game can get interrupted. In D&D, it's usually only spells that you can interrupt. In this one, you can interrupt everything, and it'll slow down. It'll pretty much give them a mini stun where they can't finish their attack until later. Then intellect contributes to will defense, influences durations and effects of his abilities and talents. So what they did with these attributes, which it's kind of interesting, I don't know what I think of it quite yet. It makes it so every stat is important to every character. There's like they'll tell you there's a specific stat that's more important, but really like all the stats are important in this one. So you can't just, like in D&D, if you're a spellcaster, you'll just give yourself like 3 strength. Probably not that low, maybe like 6. But it doesn't really matter if your strength sucks. But in this one, since that would completely nerf your magic damage, you still have to have might. So they make it so all the attributes are pretty important. Though some will be specifically more important for your race. For now, I'm just going to select human. We might change it once I pick my class. I guess I should go over each race. Humans, you kind of get the idea of it. Again, I'm not going to read all this. You can pause and read the text if you want. I'll also scroll over these tooltips if you want to read these. These guys are like extra strong compared to humans. And they're also known for being like an aquatic race kind of thing. Dwarves, you're familiar with dwarves. Again, I think we've already seen these two. Tooltips. Strength and constitution is their thing, while taking a dexterity hit. And what's interesting is also with this game, there's no, with the attributes, there's no scale to them. Like in D&D, like every 2 points, you always have to have it 2 points into a stat. Like, you don't really want an odd number stat in your points. Because you don't get any bonus for that odd number. This one you do. And also, since all the stats are important, it's also not like D&D where, like, strength and dexterity, I think, are considered, like, top-tier stats compared to the other ones. Even though they're technically supposed to be the same, they're not really the same. Strength's, like, way better than charisma or something like that. This one, that's not really the case. So this actually means the dwarf has the biggest net gain of stats, so I'm not really sure why that's the case. I feel like there must be some hidden kind of drawback to the dwarves. Maybe their secondary stats here aren't as good. Because each race also has sub-races. This one makes them more resistant to poison and disease. And these guys get extra accuracy against wild animals and primordial creatures. So yeah, I guess maybe these extra stats here aren't quite as worth as much as the other ones. Maybe that's what offsets it. You're familiar with the elves. I'll go over this. Their Orlon are like their version of the halflings. I'm not sure why they didn't just use halflings, but maybe they're copyrighted. I don't think they are, though. I think halflings are in all sorts of different kinds of literature, not just one. So they probably just want to be a little bit different. And then godlikes are ones that are very unique to this game. What they do is they just have like really interesting special stats for each subrace. The death ones get a bonus to their endurance and damage when the enemy is less than 25%. Oh wait, they get 25. They get extra damage when their enemy is lower than 25 endurance. Fire ones, when they get reduced below 50% endurance, they start doing fire damage to people who hit them. Moon ones, every time their endurance is lowered below 75, 50, and 25%, they let out a wave of healing moonlight to restore endurance to everyone. Nature Godlike grants a bonus to might, constitution, dexterity when their endurance is below 50%. And then the drawback to these guys, since they have like really strong special skills here, is they can't wear any special headgear because their heads are very, very strange, as you can see. But yeah, we'll just go with human and just the basic sub-race for now. I'm not going to go over those sub-races. Like I said, there's a lot of content in this game. They really did put a lot of work into the lore and everything, which is very cool. But I don't have time for it. So we're probably going to want a frontline-ish kind of fighter. We don't have to be like pure fighter. Just we need to be a tankier kind of character. Just because I know our first two permanent allies we'll find in the game without just making our own allies, because you can do that later. Our first two permanent allies we can get are a wizard and a priest, which, you know, that kind of leaves the combat side of things a little bit weak. A lot of these classes you'll be familiar with, more or less, but there's a few that I should point out. Cypher is like one that's very special to this game. I'll just read their powers here. Cyphers can directly target allies and enemies with powerful soul-focused effects. These powers cost focus, which Cyphers build up through use of their soul whip. Yeah, so probably a more complicated character. You'd have to also learn it completely from scratch because it's kind of unique to this game. Chanter is more like a bard, except a lot cooler. They can continuously speak chants made up of magical phrases. Phrases produce passive effects that help have the chanter's power until they can use a powerful invocation. Invocations are powerful magical effects that the chanter can create after they've spoken the required number of phrases through their chants. So yeah, they're a lot like the bards, except they're a lot more interesting with what they can do, and they're a lot more powerful. Which I think is good, because bards are always a little bit I don't really want to play it, but I'm actually a little bit tempted to play this, except it's not really a frontline fighter if you look at your health and endurance here. Reflection's pretty good. But I'm not sure that's what I want to go with. Ranger. No, I'm just looking to see which ones I want to play instead of just reading. High health but low endurance, but you do get a pet. You do suffer if your pet dies, though, in combat. That might work. It's not really a frontline fighter, but your pet would be the frontline thing. Paladin has good endurance and good health. Might do a paladin. Because I think a fighter might be a little bit too basic. I do like fighters, but might be a little bit too simple for me. And the other thing that's interesting about this game is you don't really have to play like your class is set. Like in D&D, if you pick a wizard, you gotta play a wizard. And this one, like, you have to play a stereotypical wizard. In this one, armor actually doesn't affect your ability to cast spells. It just makes it so it takes longer to cast your spells, but it also makes longer to do any kind of action in heavy armor. So a heavy armored wizard is actually possible in this game, and probably decent idea, to be honest, because they don't have very high deflection as it is. So you might as well just pile armor on them unless you need them to cast spells very quickly. But usually the wizards don't cast their spells that often, so at least at the start of the game when they don't have very many spells. kind of torn between like a paladin, ranger, and chanter. Just scares me that the chanter isn't very good in melee combat, and I kind of need one at the start here. Our temporary allies at the start do get a fighter, but they're only temporary. And then we can just recruit a fighter from the inn and make our own. Let's see what his required attributes are, and then I'll make my decision here. First, I get to pick my phrases. I guess we'll go into this just because it's interesting to go over this Chandler character. Actually, I'm pretty interested in playing him because it's pretty interesting. But we get these phrases, and I think we have to pick. Well, we only get to pick 2 of them, so for now, all we have to do is say 2 of these phrases, and then we get our ultimate attack thing. So each of these phrases will do a special thing. So for a duration of 4 seconds, I don't know what the linger is exactly. Maybe it continues, but at a reduced pace or something. But it increases everyone's move speed and the reflex save for 6 seconds. Okay, I guess it's all together, counting that. So we get some speed bonus there. This one, our foes get a damage debuff. This one, our enemies get a -10 concentration debuff. This one, they get a endurance debuff. So this one is pretty much saying direct damage, except it's over 6 seconds, so it's not a whole lot of damage per second. It's not very high. This one improves people's fortitude and will for 6 seconds. Imagine we can also level these up over time. If I had to pick one, if I had to pick 2 for now, I think I might do those 2. And then, after we say those 2 phrases, or we might have to say those 2 phrases over and over a couple times before it says. I think it'll say, yeah, we have to say 3 first. Probably all of these, yeah. So one of them we'll have to repeat 1 time over before we can do this. But after we do those 3 chants, we can summon a phantom or area of effects, damage reduction to our enemies, so they can't do as much damage. This one summons 3 skeletons. This one gives us damage reduction, so we don't take as much damage. This one makes enemies take crush damage. And they can stun them versus their fortitude. Thrice wronged, thricely just avenged. Does shock damage to our enemies versus the reflex. White worms writhed in the bellies of the dead. Causes a nearby downed enemy to explode, expelling 3 white grubs and crushing nearby enemies. That's pretty good, but you'd have to have downed enemies already to use that one. I'm just going to select it for now because I want to see what these stats are. So Constitution, Intellect, and Resolve is important for this character. That might be doable. Have to bear with me here, guys, while I make my decisions. I'm pretty sure the game's pretty long, so we want to make sure we get this right. Well, the target for 10 seconds versus our fortitude. Use our primary attack. Marked target creates a... Our companion gets a bonus damage against that target. It's kind of interesting. Get to pick our companion. I'll tell you right now, I want the wolf companion. Oh, I can already name it. Just gonna call it Doge for now because I'm not sure I'm gonna go with this one yet. Might, dexterity, perception, intellect. There's a lot of stats to level up. I don't really like the idea of spending myself that thin. Ooh, not quite that far. I just want to go back. Class. Paladin is interesting because we have to start paying attention to what our disposition is. In this one, there's no good, evil, and neutral like there is in D&D. In this one, you just have dispositions, which is like how your character's attitude is. So you can see this one likes being cruel and aggressive, and they don't like being benevolent and diplomatic. This one likes being passionate and clever, but doesn't want to be cruel and stoic. And etc. etc. These pop up in dialogue option choices and stuff. And paladins and priests are like the only two where it actually affects their skills and things. Everyone else, it's just whatever you want to do. It'll change outcomes in chat, but it won't change actual stats and stuff. So if I was going to pick one... Oh, crap. Stoic and rational, passionate, aggressive. Probably be kind wayfarers, to be honest. Flames of Devotion, full attack damage, plus 50% as a burn, and then good old lay on hands. That probably changes depending on which deity you chose. Might, Perception, Intellect, and Resolve. So this one's kind of spread out as well. Hard choices. Also, the monk is kind of a frontline fighter. Just I didn't mention him because I'm doing a monk in my single player game, so I want to do something a little bit different. Oh no, with my monk I was having endurance problems. And his endurance is already high. So I'm scared if I pick a ranger, I'm not going to be able to handle it. These guys also don't have very high endurance. Maybe I should just play a fighter. Do they have anything special? Get knocked down. Which I do know is pretty good. And then it'd be a lot more simple of a character class to make. Alright, let's go with the ranger. I'll do marked prey, ranger, wolf companion. I don't know what I'm gonna call him though. Oh, that'd be a cool name for a wolf. Oh, Mike. Frostfang. Alright. Action speed. It's mostly just rate of fire and reflex save. What does reflex? Dodge out of the way of harmful AoE effects. It says it's highly recommended, but I'm not sure I agree. I kinda like deflection bonuses. Because deflection is what is the defense bonus that dexterity gives you in D&D. It's not dexterity itself anymore, it's just deflection. Dexterity doesn't actually give any deflection. It gives you more action speed, which means you'll attack faster, cast spells faster. I'm not sure I want to be really fast, though. I'm just gonna make that 12, to be honest. Like endurance and health. Damage is always good. What will fortitude saves do? Poison, mostly. Effect. Oh. Gonna put this last point. Again, we don't have to bring it to even numbers, so. I think I want to bring anything down from 10, though. Also, it doesn't scale, it doesn't cost more points to go further and down the tree. Each point increases the stat by the same amount of bonus. Excuse me. Okay, I think that's good. Now we get to pick our culture. Honestly, this probably should go before class, but that's how they decided to do it because it changes what one of your stat boosts is. Again, I could read all these, but it takes so long, guys. I already took so long just making this far into the character creation. Scale mail. Don't need intellects. I think we want either the planes or we want a deer because we want the resolve bonus just to keep our stats what we set them at. Let's do the planes. We get to pick our background. This one I'll probably just pick whatever makes the most sense. Probably Hunter makes the most sense. Although my other character is a hunter, so maybe I don't want to do that. Athletics and lore. I don't really need lore because, again, one of the first people we pick up is a wizard, and he has a bunch of lore stat. I wouldn't mind a mechanic skill, to be honest. Just so I can do some basic thievery. That's what it's based on. Maybe the laborer. Yeah. Alright, how do I want him to look? The facial hair options are actually a little bit different for him than it was for my other character. I wonder if it's based at all on what nation you pick to be from. I kind of like that one. Change our clothes color. I don't think I need to though. I don't know what color I'd prefer to have here. I kind of like the red. We can change this in game too. These colors at least. Yeah, it's good for him. Portrait. The first one's probably fine. That one looks a lot like him too, though. So I think that's also what my portrait for my other character is, so I should probably make it different just so they're different in the save files. You can also upload your own portraits to like your the folder these portraits are in, so you can pick your own. I'm not an artist or anything, so I don't have one. Let's do one like that, and then it'll be pretty obscure. He doesn't have his facial hair though, so. This one doesn't have the facial hair either, but he is a bowman. I think we'll have to go with this guy. Then his voice.
Yes?
I've got this.
Charge!
Easy now.
Now I am the leader of the group.
Kind of like sinister and stoic the most, but other character is stoic. I think I might do noble. This one. Call him Euroswarm. Anything else I want to change, maybe? Before I go in. Since you can just move the points around, I might pick something else for here. Although this one was going to give me a crossbow, wasn't it? I kind of want to be from here, but I don't really want the crossbow. It still has the laborer if I wanted to pick the laborer. Oh, I don't want the crossbow. Let's go back to what we were. Alright, so that's everything. But we're out of time for this video. If you like this video, please leave a like or comment, and if you want to see more, please subscribe. Until next time, I hope you all have a good day.